Hi everybody, welcome back to Mando Lessons. In this lesson I want to have a quick little discussion on the way to approach learning tunes in a community setting, joining in with a jam or a session near you, and figuring out a nice way to get out there and start playing with other people. If you're interested in other more musical lessons, I've got tons of lessons over at mandolessons.com where I teach tunes and songs and other mandolin related techniques. So that's where you need to go if you're looking for that sort of thing. But this lesson is just going to be a little in-depth discussion on getting out and playing music in your community. I put out new lessons every single week, so subscribe here if you haven't already. And all my lessons are always free. That said, there's a couple ways to donate. I've got a Patreon membership page, and there's some links in the description to learn more. That said, everything's free for a reason, so let's jump into today's topic. The first step in getting out there and playing some music with other people is figuring out what kind of music you want to play. It could be bluegrass, it could be Irish music, it could be jazz, could be old-time music, could be pop music. Whatever interests you is totally fine, and I'm sure there's people around playing that kind of music in your communities. But one of the big things you can do is figure out what it is that you want to play most. Once you've figured out what kind of music you want to play, it's time to go find those community music sessions out in your part of the world. Often there will be Irish sessions or old-time sessions or bluegrass jams. There's a couple resources online. You can ask over at Mandolin Cafe in the forum section to see if there's other people playing music near you. You can also just do web searches, things like that, or maybe you've stumbled across people playing music in a restaurant or a pub near your house. When you do find that session, the best thing to do first is just go check it out if you haven't been there already. See what speed things are going at. See if it seems like a friendly, nice, relaxed atmosphere and something that you'd be excited about joining in on. Some jams are going to be geared more towards beginners. Some are going to be geared more towards advanced players. The speed will be different. The style will be different. Every session is a little bit different. So figuring out if this sort of meets your requirements is a good thing to do. And the best thing to do is go grab some food or a drink and listen to what's getting played and sort of get a scope of the scene. Once you find a jam or a session that looks like a good fit, it's time to start making a little list of tunes. As you're listening to them play, maybe you hear this tune. That one really catches your ear, and you can say, hey, what's the name of that one? And they'll say, oh, it's Miss Monahan's. If you want, you can ask what key it's in. Hey, what key did you guys do that in? Oh, that's key of D, because sometimes people play tunes in different keys. And then you can write that down, Miss Monahan's, key of D. That's exactly what I did when I started going to my local Irish session. Didn't know that tune, but it caught my ear. You ask what it is, and you get a name, and then you can look it up later on. At this point, as you're listening to the tunes and songs in any given session, you started to make a little list. You're not playing at this point, but you're really gathering a lot of useful information on what sort of stuff's getting played at the session. You've got a little list going of tunes you want to go home and work on. And when you get home, you can look them up online, find recordings of them. You can look in various tune kind of archives. My website, mandolessons.com, I teach all these tunes by ear. There's websites like thesession.org, which is great for Irish music. There's books out there like the Fiddler's Fake Book, or if you're into jazz, the Jazz Fake Book or the Real Book. There's bluegrass books. You can find a whole list of these sort of tune archives on my website, mandolessons.com, in the resources section, and I recommend checking that out. Another option is you can ask if you can record a particular tune. Maybe you hear Miss Monahan's. And you can ask, hey, that's a great tune. Do you mind if I record a couple tunes later on in the evening? If no one has any objections, that way I can get them in my ear and listen to them when I'm not here and work on them at my own pace. Every session is going to have its own particular session etiquette about who's leading songs and tunes. So really pay attention and try to mesh in with whatever the going tradition is in your particular session. And maybe you can even try to pick up tunes by ear once you start bringing your instrument along. Especially the mandolin's great for that because you can be nice and quiet, kind kind of figure out the tune as you go. You don't want to be playing so loud that you're kind of throwing other musicians off their game and off the tune and out of time. But you can often sit around, and if it seems like other people are, trying to figure out the tune as it goes along, join in and see if you can grab a couple notes, and maybe you get 5% of the tune, or maybe just the name by the end of the session. That's great. Pick up whatever you can. It'll be that much more familiar next time you go to the session, and you'll pick up another 5%. It's a very cumulative process, so don't be discouraged if you're not grabbing whole tunes in one sitting. I rarely go to a session and get a tune in its entirety just by hearing it a couple times, because that's the way a lot of sessions will go. You'll hear a tune or a song once through, twice through, 3 times through. You never know how many times you're going to hear it, but not that many. So getting that little chunk of knowledge you can, and then working on it online, or coming back and getting another little snippet next time you hear it, or requesting it next time you go to the session. That all works towards kind of building that library in your head of songs and tunes that happen at your local session. Getting out there and playing music with other people is one of the most important parts of playing music. Music was meant to be played together, so I really highly recommend you get out there, hunt down those jams and sessions and community music activities in your area, and start picking with other people. You may find people that you really mesh with, and you can break off and make smaller groups and ensembles and bands, and then start playing out in public as a more kind of traditional band setting. But I think really, when you're thinking about a session, you want things to be very community-minded. You don't want to get too into the weeds with arrangements and key changes, things like that. Keep things as you're learning them in the session. Don't try to get things too fancy. If you're interested in building arrangements and things like that, it's a great opportunity to get a smaller group of people together and say, hey, I'm really interested in kind of crafting something here. Let's get a little band together and work out some arrangements. That's great, but it's often not the focus of a community-oriented musical experience. All in all, though, I highly recommend getting out there and playing with other people. That's all for this week. Thanks so much for watching. As always, lots more lessons over at mandolessons.com. Most of them are a lot more hands-on than this particular lesson, but I did want to have a quick little conversation about getting out and playing music with other people, because it's a really important part of the music experience. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye-bye.